6 days after our mother's funeral, a family friend sent me a screenshot from a real estate listing site. Our childhood home, already staged, already photographed, already listed for sale, with my half-sister Tara's name on the listing agreement as seller. I hadn't given anyone permission to sell that house. I hadn't even been asked. Tara, it turned out, was operating entirely off a will our mother had drafted 15 years earlier, naming Tara as executor and primary beneficiary. What Tara didn't know was that our mother had quietly met with an estate attorney 2 years before her death and drafted an entirely new will, one that named me, not Tara, as sole heir to the estate, including the house Tara had already put on the market. Before I tell you what happened once I called that real estate agent directly, you need to understand exactly why our mother made that specific, private decision 2 years before she died. My name is Jennifer Malone. I'm 36 years old and my half-sister Tara is 44. We share the same mother, Susan, though we have different fathers, Tara from our mother's first marriage, and me from her second to my father who passed away when I was young. Tara and I grew up with a genuinely complicated relationship, a considerable age gap, and different upbringing circumstances, meaning we never developed the particularly close bond siblings sometimes share, though we maintained cordial, functional contact throughout our adult lives. Our mother, Susan, passed away 4 months ago, following a relatively brief illness, at 71 years old. Tara had remained considerably more geographically close to our mother throughout the preceding decade, living about 20 minutes from her, while I lived several states away, maintaining regular but less frequent in-person contact. Given that proximity, Tara had taken on increasing responsibility for our mother's day-to-day affairs in recent years, including holding a power of attorney our mother had established roughly 15 years earlier, alongside her original will from that same period, naming Tara as executor and primary beneficiary of the estate. What Tara didn't know was that our mother's relationship with her financial decisions had grown considerably more complicated in recent years, leading to a private decision our mother made without ever telling either of us directly. About 2 years before her death, our mother discovered that Tara had, over the preceding several years, borrowed against her power of attorney authority to cover several of her own financial difficulties, transactions our mother characterized to me, once she finally shared the full situation, as loans she never quite got around to repaying. Our mother, genuinely hurt by this pattern, consulted privately with an estate attorney, a careful woman named Deborah Alvarez, formally updating her will to reflect her actual, current wishes, naming me, rather than Tara, as sole heir and executor of her estate, including the family home. "I don't want to punish Tara publicly," my mother told me during one of the few conversations where she discussed this decision directly with me. "But I need my estate protected properly, going forward, in a way the old paperwork simply doesn't reflect anymore." I want to be honest that I found this conversation genuinely uncomfortable at the time, uncertain how to process my mother's private financial concerns about Tara, and genuinely hoping the situation would never actually require the updated will to matter in any meaningful way. I had no idea, at the time, how directly and how quickly it would eventually come to matter. Our mother's death, when it came, arrived somewhat suddenly despite her preceding illness, a loss that genuinely devastated both Tara and me, whatever underlying financial tension existed between our mother and Tara notwithstanding. The funeral brought us together with a degree of shared grief that felt, at the time, genuinely unifying, and I remember leaving that difficult day with cautious hope that Tara and I might navigate the coming estate process together, respectfully, despite our different levels of proximity to our mother's final years. I returned to my own home several states away following the funeral, expecting the estate process to unfold through whatever formal, orderly channels our mother's attorney would eventually initiate, genuinely unaware of exactly how quickly Tara was already moving forward independently. I had no idea, during those first several days after the funeral, that Tara had already contacted a real estate agent, operating entirely under the assumption that her 15-year-old executor authority remained current and unchallenged. 6 days after the funeral, A family friend who'd noticed the listing while browsing local real estate sent me a screenshot, genuinely confused about why the house was already for sale so soon, and why she hadn't seen any mention of my involvement in the process. I stared at that screenshot for a long moment, genuinely disoriented by the speed and unilateral nature of what Tara had apparently already set in motion, entirely without consulting me, or, apparently, formally confirming her actual current legal authority before proceeding. I called Tara directly. "Tara, why is Mom's house already listed for sale? I haven't heard anything from you about this." "I'm the executor, Jennifer," she said, her tone carrying genuine confidence rather than any apparent awareness of complication. "I'm handling the estate exactly the way Mom's will always specified. I didn't think I needed to check in about routine estate administration." "What will specifically?" I asked. "The one from years ago," she said, "the only one I've ever known about." I called Deborah Alvarez, our mother's estate attorney, immediately after hanging up with Tara, explaining the situation with genuine urgency. "Jennifer," Deborah told me, "your mother's most recent will, executed 2 years ago, is the legally operative document. It names you as sole heir and executor, superseding the earlier will entirely." Tara's continued reliance on the 15-year-old document, whether through genuine unawareness or otherwise, doesn't carry any legal authority at this point. I asked Deborah why formal notification hadn't already reached Tara regarding the updated will's existence. "Standard probate notification processes take some time to fully formalize," she explained. "I was in the process of preparing that notification when you called. I'd recommend we move quickly now, though, given the listing already in progress." Deborah drafted a formal notice to both Tara and the real estate agent handling the listing, clearly establishing my legal authority under the updated will, and formally halting any further sale progress pending proper estate administration. The formal notice reached both parties within 2 days, immediately pausing the listing process. The real estate agent, upon reviewing the documentation Deborah provided, confirmed she had no authority to continue representing a sale Tara wasn't actually authorized to pursue. Tara called me once she'd received and processed the formal notice, her earlier confidence replaced with genuine shock. "A second will? Mom never said a single word to me about updating anything." "She updated it 2 years ago, Tara," I said, after some concerns about how the power of attorney had been used. "I know this is difficult to hear, but it's the legally current document." "What concerns?" Tara asked, though something in her tone suggested she already suspected the answer. I chose, in that moment, to keep the conversation focused on the practical estate matters, rather than relitigating every detail of what our mother had shared with me privately. "I think that's a conversation we should have in person, Tara, not over the phone." Tara and I met about a week later, a genuinely difficult conversation during which I shared, as gently as I could manage, our mother's specific concerns about the power of attorney transactions that had prompted her decision to update her will. Tara's reaction moved through genuine defensiveness before settling into something considerably more reflective. "I always meant to pay those back," she said quietly. "I just kept telling myself there was time, that Mom understood I was going through a difficult stretch." "I think she did understand, for a while," I told her, "but I think it eventually became about more than any single loan. I think she needed to know her estate would be protected properly, going forward, regardless of how things continued between you and her financially." Tara was quiet for a long moment. "I should have asked you directly about the will before listing the house. I just genuinely never imagined there was anything to ask about." The estate's formal probate process concluded a few months later, distributing our mother's assets according to her actual, current wishes. I made the decision, ultimately, to provide Tara a modest, clearly documented gift from the estate's proceeds, not because I was legally required to, but because I genuinely believed our mother, despite her concerns, would have wanted some continued gesture of care between us. I sold the house eventually, through a properly authorized process, using the proceeds to establish a small scholarship fund in our mother's name at the community college, where she'd once worked as an administrator. a gesture that felt to me like a meaningful way to honor her legacy beyond simply the family conflict that had complicated her final estate planning decisions. My relationship with Tara remains genuinely complicated, though considerably more honest now than the assumption-based dynamic that led to the listing crisis in the first place. If there's one thing this experience taught me, it's this. Outdated assumptions about family authority, however longstanding, can create genuine legal and emotional complications when the actual, current documents tell a different story. Our mother's quiet, private decision to update her will wasn't born from any desire to punish Tara publicly. It reflected simply her own careful, deliberate wish to protect her estate properly, based on her actual, current understanding of her family's needs. If this story reminded you of a time an outdated assumption about family authority created unexpected complications, tell me about it in the comments. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to The Quiet Inheritance, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next story. Thank you for spending this time with me. I'll see you in the next one.